I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, so I tried to log in through my phone, but I guess it was saying it wasn't strong enough with Wi-Fi or something. So
Oh, okay.
it's what it's weird now. So it's good, good. Thanks for getting back to me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. Of course. I
Yeah,
guess first thing I wanted to ask, and then we can just get into whatever you want. Was
yeah.
that breakdown, was it like helpful or do you think it was hurtful? Like, do you think it was a good thing or a bad thing?
Definitely a good thing. Definitely a good
Yeah.
thing. I think yeah, like I think you don't hear things like that every single day, like from my end, especially when I ask my pros, players, coaches. It's like especially in the UK, everybody likes to be polite and be
Mm,
like, oh, it's okay, it's good. Or they'll give like maybe just a little bit of negative feedback. But like I never really run into someone that's staunch on their beliefs and believes like, okay, this is how things should be done. And kind of give like a just a raw sort of explanation of how they feel about um pretty much what they've seen. So I actually really appreciate it. Like at first I was like, oh wow, this is very different. But then when I watch it back again, and obviously I've seen some of your videos, like okay, but that's just kind of like he's got his own philosophy and he believes a
mm.
certain philosophy of how things should be done, and definitely appreciate it. So like yeah, definitely watched it more than once, twice, even taken some stuff from it and shared with other people's. But I mean, even me myself, like I've got my own philosophies as well, which I kind of wanted to
Yeah,
go back and forth with you on, just to kind of discuss and see where we can go from there. Really.
for sure. Yeah, I wanted to make sure because the whole reason I made these channels is because exactly what you
Mm,
said. Like, I've found in the coaching space, basketball world in general, like people don't like having conversations. And
mm,
a lot of and when I say conversations, I mean like real conversations. So if I go ask a coach, why do you do this drill? A lot of them get really
mm,
offended and they're like, no, it's just, and I'm like, hold on, no, I'm actually just asking because
mm,
I wouldn't do it
mm,
this way, but whatever. And
mm,
one thing,
mm,
the reason I push that so much is because that happened to me at some point. Someone coming to me and saying, "Hey, why do you do that?" And I'm like,
mm,
"Because I've always done it." And then it started making my
mm,
brain think like, "Okay, well,
mm,
wait, do you have a better way to do it?" And once
mm,
I found those types of coaches, it's kind of accelerated my understanding of a lot of things. And now I do the same thing that I just did with your video. I do it with myself also. Like, and that's why I try to say in the videos, I'm like, look, I don't have context for this. That could be this, could be that, but here's my thoughts. But I do the same with my trainings, with my coaching. I constantly ask the players, or I'll constantly ask the assistant coaches or other coaches, like, how do we do? Like, was that good? Was it bad? What would you change? And I feel like we always ask players to do that stuff, like, so you were coaching a player in that session and he's expected to be critiqued the whole time, but us as coaches, we're kind of cushioned from a lot of that. So we don't have people critiquing us. So we get to say things, and we get to what we ask the players to do. But then as coaches, we don't really have that feedback. So yeah, I kind of started my channels to have those conversations. And what I found is by going to like even the big ones like Phil Handy, some of the other like really large creators, I'm like, there's a lot of discussions we need to be having, and we could push the developmental space forward, and none of us have the right answer. But we all have little bits and pieces of like what's good. And if we actually come together and have these conversations, I believe the next few years, the developmental, like how we develop players can actually become like a lot more focused, have a lot more like use a lot more of our philosophies and have them more grounded. So yeah, that was the purpose of it. So I'm glad you said like it was good to get some feedback with, and we can get into like the agreements and disagreements. But yeah, just having the
yep.
conversation for me was like the main reason for doing it. So I'm glad you're receptive to that.
No, I mean, I think if I totally agree with what you say, by the way. And I think I wouldn't be here for sure if I was one of those coaches that's just kind of, be like, oh no, my way is right, and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like for me, again, we'll get into it, but I've got a huge playing background, and one of the reasons why I was so successful, even as a professional athlete was because of this mindset. And, you know, I've got mentors around me that have encouraged me to kind of always search for knowledge, like you're never right, always be willing to learn and stuff. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Well, is there anything, I guess, any disagreements you had with my, not necessarily my video, but just some of the things I pointed out, or were there things that you wanted to give more clarification on that maybe wasn't in the video?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, so I'd say I'll start with agreements. I think in terms of details can always be better. And conveying on a message and relaying information, I think that's something that I subconsciously know I need to work on. Like, it's been a lot worse. I've come a long way. So I think conveying on a message, I definitely agree on. Disagreements, I don't agree with always having a structured layout to a workout. So again, that video it was very much, there was no context to it. It was just a video that I just put
Mm.
online. I actually did not expect people like you to go watch it and critique it and whatnot, which again, glad it happened. But it was just more of like, I just put on for portfolio again. 2 days, 39 views. Most of my YouTube videos, they don't really pop off like that. So that workout specifically is with a professional athlete that pretty much it was day before a game, and for me it's pretty much what they kind of want to work on. So before that workout, we had a conversation. He wanted us to focus on 3 different skills. I said, okay, cool. So we'll just work on this, that, and the third. Just getting him feeling comfortable and confident. So that workout was based off more of what he wanted to do rather than
Yep.
the layout I had set out for him. So again, I don't think structure is important when it comes to these things, because at the end of the day, as long as you hit those targets, you're pretty much, you know, it's their workout. You're pretty much helping them. And again, it wasn't a development sort of workout. It was just more to just keep them fresh, keep them ready for the game. Now, obviously, if you are having a workout program, then I totally agree with you. Yo, we need dates, you know, days to be structured. It needs to be flowing. It needs to make sense. The first drill needs to be linked to the next and whatnot. But yeah, that was pretty much one of my disagreements. I'm not sure if you had anything to say about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, like, again, I think that's one of the things I kind of said too. Like, look, this could be, you know, we don't know the context. The reason I think I feel so strongly about that now, I think probably 2-3 years ago, I probably just wouldn't have said anything. But I'll use this example. So I had a conversation with someone the other day, and it was similar. I don't know if you've seen my main channel, but I call out like skills trainers and people that kind of scam programs, things like that. That's a big pet peeve of mine, because like when I was a young player at some point too, and I was constantly bombarded with all these different things. And I feel like that's one of the worst things our sport does, is takes advantage of younger players. So I was having a conversation with a guy and I called him out on something. And I said, look, I don't like the way that you're framing this. I think you understand basketball and you have a lot to give and you have a lot of knowledge. And a lot of these players are wanting to learn from you. And then you're taking that and you're just like, you're being very, I can't remember the word, irresponsible with your platform, with some of the things you're teaching. And he goes, well, yeah, but the things I'm teaching on my platform, I would never teach that in person. He basically was like, it's for the views. And then so I've started getting to a point where now I'm like, well, hold on. We all have to be aware. Well, we don't have to, but I think as coaches, we should try and be aware of, like, when we're putting things out, it's going to be perceived a certain way. So for me, one of the things I'm trying to change is to make it a habit for coaches or trainers or whoever, when we put something online, there should be context. Not because, and I'm not saying you have to do this, I just think this is something I would like to see a standard across the industry. But just like, even for your training, if you're like, this was a collaborative session, that things that he wanted to work on, so I put him through a workout, I think that helps younger coaches that don't know a lot, that go to YouTube to try and learn how to coach, learn how to train players. They have context now for a workout and be like, oh, this is like individualized for that guy. That's what he wants to work on. It's collaborative. I don't need to think that's what I need to do. And I think with videos online, we're usually putting them up there for a reason. And I know as a content creator, like you said, you put it up there for, like, it's portfolio. You get videos online, start getting them up there. You can figure out what to do with them later. But I think we, our reach as coaches, we always need to keep in the back of our mind that like someone's going to watch this, someone's either going to be using this to learn or someone's going to be using this to be like, that's why I coach things this way. So I think giving context to stuff is really important. And it also might help you with your videos, like you said, popping off better if you like can start identifying like who's the audience, who's watching this, and then be like, okay, I need to have something for them, not for them, but just be like, hey guys, this is a workout session I'm doing with this guy. He wanted to do it. Well, some of my more in-depth sessions won't look like this. And then so when people watch your video, it's like, oh, okay, I understand what this is for now. And I think we just leave out that context. You know, we look at the Phil Handys, we look at the Tyler Ralphs, we look at all the DJ Sackmans, and they just put stuff online. And then kids are watching it. They're like, this is the greatest thing ever. And then coaches are like, man, we got to train this stuff. And then I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is not what those kids need, you know, but selling programs off that stuff. So thoughts?
No thoughts. I think you're bang on the money with that. Like I think like you put stuff online, you don't know who's watching. I think for me, I'm just at a very, very beginner stage of, you know, trying to grow my channel and whatnot and just make sure that my portfolio reaches all the four corners of the world. So yeah, I mean, like when I put that video on, it was just more of, okay, what can I put on YouTube? Like I need to put something on YouTube desperately, you know, and I just put that on. And I'm pretty much, I wasn't thinking of any context. Like a bit of background about myself, like training is not the only thing I do. I'm also, I run my own basketball program at a school. I run camps internationally and whatnot. So like days to edit on my computer and stuff like that, like I don't have time to just be breaking videos down. And I mean, sometimes I do, especially in my off days, but sometimes I don't. So it's just one of those videos where crap, like we got all this footage I haven't uploaded in a while. Let me put it on. But I think definitely having context to what you do and putting online definitely is important. I do it for my Instagram, but Instagram again doesn't take me long to do. YouTube is just something that I've just got to be wary of. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you on that for sure. There's nothing, you know, I can disagree with what you've just said, you know. So
and on that, like I just want to point out, like the whole reason I do this is because I really do think we need more coaches like yourself. And that's why for me, when I see how many coaches like yourself get into this and then turn it, like start playing the game, it's like, because there's a difference between social media and coaching. And like I said, spoke to that coach the other day, and when we had a conversation, it was a very good basketball conversation. And then since that time, I've seen him do 3 or 4 things, and I'm like, dude, you're doing the opposite of what you were saying, like your whole goal and what you were trying to do. Which I also think, if that's what you want to do, that's also okay. But it's just kind of like having context, understand what you're trying to accomplish, be that. But the thing that gets really confusing is when good coaches, like people that mean well, and I don't even think I'm that great of a coach. It's just like I have a moral standard. I have a thing. I'm trying to push the game forward. So because I'm doing that, usually things work out. Usually things just work out because I'm trying to make the right decision, push the game forward, and I can quickly go back into my brain and go, is this good for the kids? Is this good for the game? Boom, done. I just keep putting one foot in front of the other, doing that stuff. And it leads to these types of conversations. And then hopefully you can do that sort of stuff with your content of, like I said, post things online. You'll learn. Me giving a little bit of a critique, maybe that helps you learn, like, wait, maybe I should. Because to me, even if you typed out context in the description, yeah, it's just working on this, blah, 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 whatever. So I don't think you need to overhaul. I don't think you need to really change what you're doing. But I do think just having a goal, why am I putting this up there? I think it will actually help you reach more people as well whenever you go into the session knowing what you're trying to accomplish from beginning to end and when you're uploading it. So yeah, I just want to say, like, I like what you're doing and we need more coaches like you.
Oh, no, I appreciate it for sure. I wanted to ask actually, like, what's kind of your view on, this is more just technical and philosophy, because I want to pick your brain a bit on how much do you pander towards, you know, the new style of coaching, CLA, game based, because again, my brand or my style of coaching, I'd say, is more geared towards game-based approach, CLA? Yeah, like what's your view on that with training sessions and whatnot?
So I'm currently. This is going to sound very um, hubristic of me. I'm actually working on kind of my own philosophy that I'm going to hopefully be putting a book out, or hopefully be even if it's not a book, just information out. My approach to basketball is just like a human based approach, because for me it's like, what do the players need? I CLA training, I've probably learned about it 12 years ago, and it changed the way I looked at a lot of things. It added so many more tools to my tool set. It added so much more to my training sessions, my coaching sessions, how I structure my trainings. It added so many more things. But then there's a lot that I think CLA leaves out. And then I do think rigidity, focus, hyper focus drills are important at sometimes, especially for like skill mastery, which CLA training will say it's the opposite. So those two philosophies to me don't really mesh together. But there's things from both of them as a player and as a coach that I'm like, yeah, I just think it's best when we can use the best of both worlds. But then I think there's a huge middle section that just gets left out of both of those philosophies, and that's the person. So for me, if you have a player who's a 9 out of 10, you're either going to make him a 10 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10. Like that's all you're really going to do with your training, regardless how good it is, how bad it is. You're going to make them 1 point better, 1 point worse. Like as coaches, we're not really going to change a lot. But you can, if you're a really terrible person and you treat that person terrible, you can take them from a 9 to a 5. You can make them hate the game. You can make them want to quit. If they're a 5 and you instill some belief and confidence and get them to understand hard work and focus, you can take a 5 to a 9. Now it's not going to be you did all the work, but it's like you can get more out of people than you can treating them as players that have these technical skills that we got to master. If I coach a group of 50 kids, the kids that are inspired by the things I say and believe the things I say are going to go home and work on that stuff on their own, regardless of what we do in that session. So yeah, for me, it's more, I like CLA. I like new style coaching, but I think there's a lot of people that they treat it like a gimmick, like, oh, do this thing because it works. And it's like, man, for some kids, it's not what they need. Put a kid through a basic workout, like your training session, for example, put him through a workout, and it can be random drills or whatever, but those should be like kind of tools for you to be like, okay, let's see where he's at here. 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 Then you can go back to the drawing board and be like, yeah, he needs some CLA. This kid is too structured. He has no confidence. We're just gonna make the wackiest, craziest, chaotic session so that he can like get some confidence, get out of your shell, do some crazy stuff. Stop thinking so much. But then there's other players that's all they know. Hey, you can't make free throws. You need to lock in and focus. Like you're going to sit here and shoot 10 free throws. And if you can't focus through all 10, like you failed that. You got to be able to focus for 10. It's just what the player needs, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. It's actually crazy, yeah, because yeah, that's something that I've implemented. So I think my issue with CLA, and especially with these new coaches coming up, is that they use all these fancy drills and they think, oh, that's all the player needs. They miss out all the details. That's something I see a lot on Instagram. Is like, okay, the drills are great, but it's like there's no level of detail in what you're doing. And some of these coaches, it's like they just use the drill, and then when the players ask them, "Oh, why are we doing this?" Like their mind is, their mind is blank. So I don't think so. I think CLA is not great for coaching and great for players who need to learn the intricate details of relaying on information. I don't think it's great for them. It's definitely great for the players. It definitely works for the players. It's worked for me personally.
It's more
Something that
fun.
I kind of yes, it's more fun. Something that I kind of implement with all my clients is I kind of gauge everything on a seesaw. And obviously, if you know a seesaw, the seesaw goes up and down. And obviously, CLA, if you have CLA and game based on this side, and you have all like the traditional reps and stuff on the other side, is if, for example, they're injured, you kind of want to do a lot more traditional reps and less game-based stuff to obviously improve their confidence. And to just get them, back in the game. If they're a beginner, you kind of still want to have your traditional reps way up there and less game-based stuff because you want them to learn the technique, right? You want them to understand what they're doing with the ball in their hands. Now, when you're working with someone like Danny, for example, who's a veteran professional, he's done all the drills. He's gone through all the details and stuff. He knows everything. So pretty much like when he gets into the gym, he needs to be engaged, like especially before game day. He just needs to be stimulated. Like, oh, I want to do some weird stuff. Like the conversation we had before the session is like, I want to do stuff that's just unconventional. And for me, I think I'm kind of with you when you say you're developing a player's approach, because one of the things I do is I always ask the question, okay, what would you like your session to look like today? And for him, usually it's, I just want to do some crazy stuff. I just want to, get the body loose. I want to be creative. I just want to try some stuff. So that's seesaw now is predominantly the weight is on the traditional stuff, so it's really low, and then you have a lot of game-based stuff where I'm like, okay, cool, grab the ball. The only constraint I'm going to give you is 2 dribbles, but you can figure out whatever you want to do, whatever you feel like doing. Catch the ball, top of the 3, okay, whatever footwork that comes to you, just go for it, go get a bucket, stuff like that.
Yep.
And he absolutely loves that because, number one, he's like, wait, I know more basketball than you. And then number 2 is like, yo, I just want to rock out. Like, I just want to feel myself again. Game-based approach pretty much has just been working for me. Again, I'm from the UK. We don't have court time. So, like with Danny, I haven't seen him in the past 2 weeks.
I know.
we don't have courts. We don't have courts to just be in the gym 3-4 hours a day. So, game-based CLA approach is pretty much the best thing you can do with anyone that doesn't see the court a lot. Like, yo, let's get touches, let's be creative and such. Again, one of the drills is like, oh, you could just do this in the playground. Well, he's not in the playground, he's not on the court. So pretty much we just try to squeeze everything in with what we can do. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, my philosophy, I think very, very similar to yours, is just weigh everything up on a seesaw and move on with that, to be honest. So
yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that's where, again, this is why I try to be charitable with all of my breakdowns or all my critiques with things, because again, I don't expect anyone to be perfect. And I'm the type of coach, you could probably tell now by my breakdowns, I'm the type of coach that if a player is 12 years old and they go full court through everyone, 360 windmill, I'm still going to have something to say. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, but I feel like that's how I am too. And I'm also the friend though, that like, if you got a booger in your nose, I'm going to tell you got a booger in your nose. And I think where we are as coaches and where we are in the basketball industry, people don't want to have those conversations. And then at some point, players run into a space where like they need to be a human and they got to figure the stuff out themselves. And if you haven't built them up, if you haven't given them all those tools, they're going to fail. I look back at a lot of other coaches and trainers and just people I've known throughout my past, and a lot of things I see. And I'm like, man, at the end of the day, we should be the reason I like sports, it's a way that we can teach life skills to kids in a safe environment. Teach them how to fail, teach them how to succeed. They can learn how to be a winner. The best players on my teams, I'm going to make sure they're the best leaders. Like, hey, that dude that can't finish sprints in time, like, you need to cheer him on. You don't get to make fun of him. You need to bring him along too. And it's like, if you're the best player, I'm expecting more from you, because you're going to get to a level, you're going to be in a leadership position at some point. And it's like, we'd love that person to be a Tim Duncan. We'd love that person to be someone who can lead and bring other people along. And I feel like that's our real goal as coaches. So with the skill stuff, I don't know, would you consider yourself like a skills trainer or anything like?
I do both. So I'm a head coach and a skills trainer, both. Yeah.
Okay. So this is an important point that I want to start changing. You're a coach. And I think the best coaches can do everything. You can skills train, you can, wear this hat, you can wear whatever coach's hat you need. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing we are is also like you're a mentor, you're a leader. So
for sure,
I think where we go wrong, myself included, is because we get put into these buckets. So when you're uploading a video, it's like, okay, I've got to be a skills trainer. So this is what a skills trainer looks like. It's like, okay, I've got to be a coach. This is what a coach looks like. And I think the reason my videos and my community is growing is because the approach I take now is just like, yeah, I can watch a video and I can still coach. I'm not having to be a skills trainer. I can do skills training. I'm not talking about X's and O's all the time, but I break down 5-on-5 X's and O's. But it's like most of the stuff we're talking about is just like the coaching aspect. This could be better. This probably is I haven't learned this. I'm going to add this into my session. I've never seen this before. And it's probably what you do every day as a coach as well. And I think that's the part that we don't have enough of. So when I said to you, like, I think adding context, it's not because you failed at it. I'm like, no one does it. People just post stuff. And it's like, that'll give you it's just another tool you have now. Oh, have some context. Like I said, why are you doing this drill? Oh, as long as you have a why, then it's a good drill. Honestly, if you have a why for why you're doing stuff, it's a good drill. Because then you can always go back to the drawing board and be like, yeah, this it didn't accomplish the thing I wanted to, or it did. And that's why we're doing it.
I think from this conversation so far, I think context is just very important. Just having context, especially if you put something online, and then just having, true intentions. Which again, for me, like I don't have that issue in terms of like having the intention of trying to make money and whatnot. Like a lot of like that session, probably he's my first pro that I've asked for money for, but other than that, like everything's just straight out of for free and stuff. And for me, of course, like I said, I'm here. Sorry.
On that point, sorry. I also don't want people shying away from making money or building a business for themselves, because I do think you can't just give everything away for free. Like it is your time, and it is valuable. So I don't want people shying away from that too. I just mean like, I'm going to put out like a program that every kid needs, that sort of stuff.
No, I mean, the only reason why I said that is just pretty much just to kind of relay on like my true intentions for getting into coaching and training, which again, like you said, I like the way you use the analogy of like my mentors and we're role models, right? And that's pretty much like, again, it's unseen in the videos I post, but that's something that I've always been doing, even from the time I started getting into it and playing as a professional, and even having the young kids train with me as well. So yeah, I mean, pretty much agree with most of the stuff you said. I'm actually very surprised. I thought this would be a bit different, but yeah, I think we're both on the same page with everything you've said. So yeah.
Do you know Jamal Crawford, obviously?
Yeah, well, not personally, but yeah, I know of him. Yeah,
know of him. So we played against his team in AAU just this past summer. His AAU team, and they were like, they were a year younger, but they were the number 1 ranked team in the nation. And our team is just like, it's just a team. It's just whatever, a group of kids. But we run stuff that's the reason I like this club, it's like, we're not getting the NBA players, but we teach them basketball, teach them the proper way to play, hard work, blah, 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 all that stuff. And we beat them. And they weren't running offense. They didn't have good defensive schemes, but we beat them. And then Isaiah Thomas was there too. And he was just like, they just play. Him and Jamal Crawford both said to their guys, like, they just play basketball the right way. And he's like, this is why I try to get you guys to listen. This is why I try to get you guys to do this. So he used that game to show his players the stuff he's been trying to teach them. And then we played them again a few weeks later, and they destroyed us. But that first game we played them, in my head, I'm like, how come Jamal Crawford can't get these kids who are like freak athletes? And they were way more athletic than our kids. They were bigger than our kids. Like, how were they not? He's got the number 1 player in the nation. I'm like, how are they not? I was just disappointed, I guess. And then I walked away from that game, and I think it was on the drive home, and I was just thinking, I'm like, you know what? As a coach, Jamal, working with his kids, is probably battling way different problems than what we battle with our kids. And like, and I'll just say this, like, our kids, it's almost every single one of them, it's rich white kids. So they're showing up to practice. We don't have to go pick any of them up. We don't have parent issues. Like, we're not having huge issues with discipline stuff, whatever. They show up, they're all clean shaven. Everything's easy. It's actually easy to coach them. And then a bunch of Jamal's players they're in Seattle, which can be like a pretty rough place sometimes. And it's like his battles are like getting them to practice, getting them to show up on time, getting them to commit, and I'm like, okay, as a coach, does that mean we're better coaches than Jamal Crawford? Not necessarily. It's just different battles, different things. And so when you asked earlier, what's my philosophy? And it's like, yeah, I think and having conversations with him and just the way he is about pushing basketball forward and stuff, I'm like, that type of philosophy is what's best for basketball. Like, meet the players where they're at, you give them what they need, and then we're always learning as coaches too. So like I said, I was very disappointed, but then it made me reflect and think, like, hold on, why was it like this? Why did it try to add the context, right? And then realizing, like, as I don't really have, my job is easy with these kids. They show up. I've coached inner city kids. I've been in those other situations where I was just happy to get the kids on the court. I've got to go pick up kids to get them to the games. I'm having these players can't pay for stuff, so we got to run fundraiser. It's like it's a different thing. So I think that's why, like, the human approach to me is important, and that's why even breaking down your video was less about, like, again, obviously I don't do it for views, because I just go to the most popular videos and just keep watching those. My most popular videos are T-Jazz. I watched 2 T-Jazz videos, and it was like 100 and something thousand. The other one was like 50,000. I'm like, this is this is printing money. But for me, it's not enjoyable. That's not the thing I like, is this, having these conversations. Hopefully I'm, like, not teaching you, but hopefully you're feeling more confident with some of the things you already think, and be like, okay, yeah, like, that is the direction I want to go. And then for me, like, I wrote down a couple notes from you, but it's like, I'm going to steal all your good ideas, the seesaw approach. And when you said that you coach kids, and you're talking about, skills trainer and a coach, and I'm like, hold on, maybe we can blend those two. Like, I'm taking notes and trying to learn stuff from you too. So
No, definitely learning from you. I think from that video, like, even from my sessions going forward, is like, okay, cool. It just got me thinking about what I was doing more than going into autopilot. And I'm not saying I went into autopilot because I just wanted to get the session done, but I think, like I said before, I'm not getting constructive criticism like on this level. I've never really had this on this level. My mentor, I think he does a great job, but in terms of criticism, like, the only thing he's told me to is just go out and fail, which I think is a great
it's
advice.
huge,
But I think
and
there
that's
also
probably
needs
the
to be a
biggest step.
balance. Yeah, but I think there also needs to be a balance of, okay, you need to tell me what I'm not doing right. And like, I've most of the majority of my coaching years, which again is not long, has just been self-coaching, like going on YouTube. I went to Coleman's by any means
Yep.
coaches camp in December 2024. That was a good experience. But yeah, I don't. Oh, you got the book as well now.
I'm having a
Yeah,
conversation with
brother.
him in a couple weeks.
Yeah. Coleman is. I get a lot of my stuff from him, and me and him we're quite good friends as well. Like, we talk on a regular basis. But yeah, so yeah, I don't really get that sort of, you're doing this wrong, like that, you know. And yeah, just being in a space of just always self-reflecting, but on a new level, if that makes sense, is very
Yeah.
important.
Well,
So yeah.
100%. The best coaches I've ever worked with, I say this all the time. And again, I was just really lucky that the job I got. So when I went overseas to play, my second year, they had it. So they've got, like, clubs. So our club had 18 teams. So about 10 players per team. So it's 180 kids from under 12s up to
So which country? USA? Sorry,
in Australia.
is in the USA? Australia. Oh, okay, okay,
Australia.
okay,
Yep.
okay, okay, okay.
So when I went over there, it was, they had a guy that was teaching all the philosophy, all the offense, and he'd lay out the whole program. And I got there, and it was so bad, and I just stayed out of it. But then he got fired the next year, and I went to the club and said, "Look, I'm playing, obviously, but I was like, I don't want the job, but out of all the people you interview, if they're not good, I'll take it. I want to go for the job if they're not good." So I saw the people they interviewed, and it was just not good. So then I ended up getting the job at like 24, 25, had no clue how to run an organization and do all those things. but I kind of got thrown into the fire. And a lot of the mistakes I see a lot of coaches make are like, yeah, it's the mistakes I made. But I was lucky that I had 18 teams at the time, and I saw 18 different philosophies and problems happen that year. And I'm like, hold on, nope, let's get everyone on the same page. Let's get the foundation. So everyone has the same foundation. And then we grew. And by the time, so I did that for 9.5 years, maybe 10. And by the end of it, we had 32 teams. So I was dealing with 320 players, 32 head coaches, 32 assistant coaches. Then I had our pro teams that I was organizing as well. So our men's and women's, and then we had our junior teams under that. So I just got a lot of experience with coaching, training, dealing with coaches, teaching coaches, being coached, because I would go off and do the state and national coaching courses and then working with those players and stuff too. So I got really fortunate to make a lot of those mistakes. So when I give critiques or when I give feedback on things, it's trying to wrap everything I learned and everything I went through as well into like, boom, I can put this in one video. Boom, I can put this in one video. Boom, I can, so it's like I had to go through 9.5 years and 10 years of making mistakes and learning things. Well, if I can just speed run that and give that to people, they don't have to make some of those mistakes. So when I talk about context, the reason I do that is because I've been there. I've filmed video, I've put it up, and then later on had to be like, what I don't like the message everyone got from that video. I should be more intentioned with my videos that I put out. And then it becomes a habit and just something you do because it's a focus now. And then going forward, like I said, you don't have to be a skills trainer, you can be a coach, and you'll find more opportunities to do videos. You'll find more opportunities to post stuff because you're like, wait, I don't have to put them in these 2 blocks and boxes now. There's always opportunities to coach. And one thing I'm not good at that you're good at already, putting a session up of a player. I feel very uncomfortable doing that, and I've told myself I'm going to do it, but when the camera is on, it's really hard for me to, because I feel like coaching sessions is very intimate, right? For me, it's very hard to take those coaching sessions and get it on film, because some coaching happens sporadically, right? Like I might be teaching a team, I might be coaching a team of 12 players, and then there's, hold on, come over here, let's work on this real quick. And it's like I missed that really important teaching moment. So a skill that you've already had is, well, you can get in the gym, you can do your coaching session, you can film it. So that's something where like take that skill, but now keep adding on to that skill. That's something I just don't do. I've tried it.
Yeah.
And it actually pulls away from my coaching session because the way that I operate is just not, I'm never thinking about the camera.
Yeah. I think that's obviously something that, again, is just something I've just been used to just from young. I think everyone kind of has their forte of what works for them, what doesn't work for them. But my mind was just thinking of your personal approach philosophy. I kind of wanted to pick your brain on how you would implement that with a team setting, because again, I think with one of my main struggles, again, because I'm a team coach and I have my own program, is that we can't always just tell players to just play out of a framework or using the CLA and saying, look, they'll figure it out, because again, pressure, time, and everybody's built the same. So how does your people's approach relate to the 5-on-5 setting or team setting?
Yeah. And again, most of the times it's always going to come down to like, what are their goals? And that's why I think it's a people approach, because the argument is typically what's better, CLA or traditional coaching? And for me, my brain first goes, wait, what are we trying to accomplish? So you coach a team. I usually get my teams at the beginning of the year and I say, what are our goals? What are we trying to accomplish? Because I can have my goals, but it actually doesn't matter. I've like the way I work and the way I care about basketball, most of those kids don't. They're just not. Some of them have to be there because their parents are making them be there. Some of them just think they like basketball, but they don't love it. Some of them are just doing it to be healthy. Some of them really, really, really want to win. All right, so as a team, what's our goal? What can we all agree on? And if you speak to a team at the beginning of the season, every single team, what are they going to say is their goal? They're going to say to win a championship, right?
Yeah, win. Sorry.
Which is,
Yeah, win. Yeah. Yeah.
and most coaches are going to say it too. But then I break that down and go, hold on. Okay, to win a championship, we're going to have to outwork every. Well, do we have the best players? Do we have the 10 best players? We don't. Okay, so we're going to have to outwork every other team. So to outwork every other team, you can't miss a practice. You're going to have to do extra training on your own. You're going to have to, you start building it up, building those layers. And then once kids see what it looks like, a lot of them will be like, I don't want to do that. So I go, okay, what's our goals? Are we happy with, learning? Let's learn this offense, the national team offense that Basketball UK is running. We're going to learn that. That's our goal this year. We're going to be the best defensive team this year. Because if we run the national team offense, we might win some games. We might win a championship. Or if we're going to be the best defensive team, that's our identity. That's what we're going to do. If you're that, you might win a championship. You might win some games. So I think approaching them as humans and then breaking down their goals and getting them to understand their pathway, getting them to understand what success looks like. And it's kind of, CLA does do this. It just doesn't do a good job explaining it. It's the player-led approach. It's player-led, but it doesn't. This is what I'm saying. Like think about them as people first, and be like, hold on, what's our goals? What are we trying to accomplish? And then once you get that buy-in, and with the parents too, the conversations change. So when the parents are riding home, some parents want their player to go, their kid to go to the NBA. Some parents, like I said, just are happy to drop their kid off at practice and just be like, okay, that's an hour and a half. I don't have them. So they don't really care. Some of them just want everyone to have fun and everyone to win a medal. So when they're going home after that game, they're hearing from their parents. And this was bad. You should have played more minutes and whatever. Why is this kid playing? He's not even that good. And as a coach, you're like, well, no, I'm just trying to develop everyone. But that's not what that parent wants. So when you establish a goal, break those goals down, get all the players and the parents on the same page. Hey, this is our goal, right? So anytime something comes up, or anytime there's why are we doing this? Or anytime there's a loss, anytime there's a win, you can always frame it back to those goals. Hey, guys, we said we want to be the best defensive team, but we don't want to be in shape. Can we be the best defensive team and not be in shape? No. Okay, that's why we're doing this. All right, their sprints are a little bit different now. So I think for me, that's the most important thing. And when you said like, how do you do that? It's really hard because it's a lot of communication, it's a lot of conversation, and it's a lot of teaching. So this is the part where it's like, you're not right all the time. You're just not. And I'm not. Same thing. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation. What do you disagree with the things I said? And but it's like, it's a lot of teaching, and it's a lot of like learning and standing by like those standing by the expectations you have of the players. Guys, we got to show up every day. Well, you definitely can't miss. We got to, hey, be focused, be locked in. Well, you better turn your phone off. Turn your phone off, put it in the bag. I'm not going to be on my phone while so whatever we're asking of the players, we just got to do the same thing. And, like I said, keep relaying it back to the goals. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I guess it does. I guess for me is a thing where I just kind of wanted to. It was more tactical. So like again, let's say I think those stuff pretty much what you spoke about. You could use both the traditional and CLA for, in my opinion. Like again, relaying, talking to the players and whatnot. I was coming more from the tactical side. Okay, cool. How are we structuring our practices? How are we playing? Are we, for example, Alex Sarama, very famous. I think I've seen one of your videos about you talking about his book. He doesn't believe in passing car. He doesn't believe in, he doesn't believe in any set plays. He doesn't believe in any structural set plays whatsoever. Like he's just like, okay, give them a framework and let them go. And you've got your set triggers. That's it, triggers that you have and whatnot. And with me, is like I'm kind of dealing with some beginners, and just working off of triggers is not working. And sometimes I find myself going, okay, cool, we're gonna run this where you run here, you're stationed here, you're stationed
Yeah.
here. So I kind of just wanted to pick your brain on how your approach would deal with in practice, in games solutions.
Yeah. So again, a lot of it's gonna come down to your team specifically. But for
Mm,
example, I had a coach. I was doing a coaching call with someone. It's probably 2 months ago, and he had a similar question. And he was like, "Our club wants us to run a 5 out motion because they want all the players to be learning every spot." He said, "But where we struggle is we only have one kid that can like deal with pressure, and we only have one kid that like our second best player that can score, whatever he said to me." And I was like, well, you need to find like what the other kids are good at and allow them to play off of those skills. And he's like, but they're not good at much. And I was like, yeah, but this is what I'm saying. If so I basically told him, hey, what if your best player throws it to the second best player? So kind of like a Princeton offense, let's catch it in the high post. Your offense is let's get it to that our second best player and we play off of that. Because I was like, it's still your 5 out motion principles, but our goal isn't to score. Our goal is to get it to that high post. If we do that, so our trigger is to get it to the high post and we play off of that. And everything else for me is success because we suck. We're not good.
mm,
So as a coach, that's a win for me. And the reason I say this, I was coaching an under 16 girls team, and they just wouldn't shoot the ball. And so we were supposed to run like a more detailed offense and whatever. And I just said, look, at the end of the day, if you get pressured, I just want you to duck your head and drive to the basket and shoot it, because that was better than them passing the ball around and turning it over. Now, a lot of parents and a lot of people on the outside are like, they're not running offense. They're not doing it. And I said, these girls can't. They just can't. But when I tell them to duck their head and go to the basket, at least they're aggressive. Sometimes they get fouled. Sometimes they make a layup. But the worst thing is they miss. And in girls basketball at a young age, if you shoot the ball more, you'll win. So my win condition was we got to shoot more shots than the other team. And then what happened was, because our girls were driving and they're aggressive, and when they freak out, they just go, and they know I'm okay with them missing. I'm okay with them driving. They're not listening to everyone yelling. They trust what I'm saying. What started happening was the defense starts backing up a little bit, and they like don't want to get driven by. And now like our girls have all the time in the world to run an offense. They can pass now. Passing is easier. They can cut now. Like everything opened up because of that. So for you, it's going to be identifying with your team again. So I say it's like the human approach. It's identifying with your team. Like if we've got the 2 best players in the league, you're going to win. Doesn't matter what you run. But if you don't have that, it's like, okay, we got to figure out what's our goal. My goal is to get layups, or my goal is to shoot open shots. Whatever wherever you think your players are, the thing you think they can do, it's like our goal is that. It's like, all right, if we do that every possession, I'm happy with that. So what structure do you run? What plays do you run? So you said Alex Rama never wants to run structure and always wants chaos. And that's one of the critiques I have, is like some kids can't handle chaos. They just need a very specific thing. Like
yeah.
what
No,
structure do you run?
sorry.
What structure like do you guys run?
We have like a set plays, but then it's kind of like we have set plays, and then some is like, okay, just go to work, run a play off a trigger. Today it was just play off a trigger. We played against the zone, so it was just pretty much motion, pass, cut, and then whatever you see. If we get into this position, we're looking for this. If you get into this spot right here, we're looking for a high post, high to low, whatever. So it's pretty much, I think, for me with your approach, and with a lot of conversations I've had with coaches who are not sold on the CLA, they're already doing pretty much what you're doing. It's just that they haven't called it to human approach. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot we can, and from this conversation and what you said, is there's a lot we can pick from both sides of the spectrum in terms of coaching delivery and philosophies, but it's more centered around what the players want and who we have to work with. So yeah, like again, I see your approach pretty much on a day-to-day basis, like with other people. I think it's just people just haven't called it that. It's just more of,
Yeah,
oh, I like CLA,
agreed.
but there's some problems, so I'm just gonna do my own, bring my own twist. Which I think modern coaches are doing really well at, even though there is a lot of uh, issues with modern culture. But I'd say one thing is that there are a lot of modern coaches that are bringing the two worlds together and creating this beautiful way of coaching. So yeah.
Yeah, I think on that, like one of the things I spoke with Coleman about, and one of the things I called him out about with some of his stuff was, again, he's very young as well. And honestly, he's kind of like a coaching prodigy. Like for the amount he knows for his age is pretty wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But then there's some parts where I'm like, you got to remember, as always, as all of us need to remember, you don't know what you don't know. So the only issue I have is there's a lot of recommendations and there's a lot of absolutes that are like, this is better because of this. And I just think there's a better way we can frame some of those sentences, because I'm like, well, hold on. I have had some very rigid coaches, very structured coaches and trainings. But there's lessons I learned from that. And there's discipline that I've learned from that. And there are some things I've gotten from that. But on the other hand, I wish I would have grown up with CLA. So there's a world where they can both work and both coexist. And the more we are open to not having the only reason I don't want to do a book or sell a thing is because I don't want to be tied to that too. And I think, Alex Sarama, like you read the book. Have you read this?
No, I haven't read the book, but I'm very aware of philosophies and stuff.
So his book, the first 5 chapters, is basically selling. It's selling the book, and it's selling the idea of CLA. And for me, CLA is so good, you don't got to sell it. It's already good. And so whenever you ask, like, what's your approach to this? What's your approach to this? I can give any answer because I'm not selling a book. I'm not selling CLA. I'm not selling anything. Whereas I think Coleman, Alex, like there's going to be that implicit bias. And I actually I think what they're doing is far, far more positive than negative. And that's why I want to have the conversations. But I think people underneath them they don't have that same foundation. They're listening to what Coleman says and they're like, well, he says this and he's a prodigy, so I've got to do what he says. And it's like, but you're going to miss a lot of things. The reason CLA is good is because it makes you think. Don't let Coleman do the thinking for you now. The reason it's good is because it makes you think. So go think.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of and it's not because obviously I know Coleman and I've kind of been around Coleman, but I disagree with kind of what you think Coleman is doing. I think Coleman he's a little bit more open to both even the traditional methods than possibly you think. Again, I'm just assuming, because there are some times where he's
I'll give an
actually
example
on his Instagram. Yeah, go for it.
I'll give an example. So I agree. And so I don't want this to come out as like I'm against him either. Like I said, I'm going to have a conversation and I'm hoping with those conversations we can have like, oh yeah, now this thing is rolling. But when he brought up the thing about like UCLA and their training, I don't know if you saw that when you put the post up and he's like, UCLA women's team is doing these drills and they're static and it's not good and it's not game representative. And I commented on there and said, hold on, like they also do a lot of CLA stuff. They also do other things, but I've been around high performance environments to understand, like they know what they're doing. And then UCLA's women's team, number one, like they're dominating, they're doing really well. And then he said, well, Coach Corey Close actually said they started doing a lot of CLA stuff. And I'm like, well, hold on. No, that's where I think he looks at things in a binary sometimes where it's like, I think they're exactly what you said. I think a lot of coaches do both and they may not know it, but because they're not aware of it, I think Coleman often looks for why they're messing up first rather than points out what they're doing wrong first, rather than what they're doing well at. So to me, if that would have been just like a random, if that would have been like an overseas team that no one knows about, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. But when he said that about UCLA women's team, I'm like, it's really easy to go see. Like they actually do a lot of the stuff you have said. And then Coach Corey Close, she liked both of our comments, and then she commented on that too. And I'm like, I think if he approached it more from, dude, have a conversation with her, because I guarantee like there's a lot of stuff you probably can shortcut for her and teach her, but then there's going to be a lot of stuff where you go, damn, I actually didn't realize they actually had it more right than I thought. And again, it's not because of Coleman. It's not Coleman I have an issue with. It's the people under him that see that, yeah, UCLA women's team, they don't know what they're doing. It's like, hold on. No, like I understand what he's saying. I understand the question he's asking. But kind of like I said to you, when you put something out there, you have to try and think what your audience will get from it. So the guy I had the conversation with the other day, he said, I would never teach that to my players. I'm like, yeah, but you're putting it online, and now everyone thinks that's what you're supposed to do. You know what you're doing. So the conversation.
So with
Go ahead.
So CLA is basically is not the only way. So you're pretty much, your issue with Coleman is that with his posts and what he's kind of critiquing is it comes from the angle of CLA is the right way as it pertains to team coaching. Is that what your issue is with?
Yeah.
With him?
And this is why I have an issue with it, is because it's exactly what I did with Jamal Crawford's team. The difference was I didn't make an Instagram post and say, we just beat Jamal Crawford's team, #1 team in the nation. They don't run offense like we do, blah, blah, blah. You know, because people would take that and be like, man, Coach Midrange is the best coach, and he's so much better than Jamal Crawford. I heard that it creates this narrative, and then I go home and I'm like, I actually don't have context for whatever. Then speaking to Jamal, and I'm like, damn, I was way off. So while, yes, I do believe what I was doing is right, and I believe for my situation and my group of kids, I've maxed them out. By the time Jamal has had more time and had a little bit more time to deal with some of the issues they were dealing with, they came back and beat us. And it's like they actually had the better team, but the problems that he was having to solve were completely different problems than we were solving. So we hit a ceiling way over here, and then Jamal's team now is just like boop, 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 because they've got the better athletes. And he also knows how to coach, but he's not worried about CLA and ecological dynamics and worried about traditional coaching. It's like the person part of it is what he had to get right first. And then once you get the person part right, now you can start really tinkering and dialing in what it is that each player and that needs. So I think for Coleman, when he saw the UCLA women's training, he should have approached it as, does Coach Corey Close, like, do you think she agrees with CLA or disagrees? And if you look at it from that lens, it's like, oh, they're the #1 women's team. Like, you see how some of their players play. She takes a lot of stuff from like Miami Heat. She takes a lot of stuff from like past NBA players and a lot of other professional organizations. It's like, okay, she probably knows what she's doing. But to put that post out first, it's like, hold on. You are bringing to light why these drills might not be good, but it shouldn't be done from the lens of the UCLA women's team doesn't understand. It's more so if your team, if you would have framed it like, if your team practice looks like this and only this, it's probably not very good. And I would 100% agreed. So this happens a lot where people that are very similar, I actually think me and Coleman, Alex, we're probably very similar in our beliefs. We're going to have far more disagreements with things because we have so many agreements. So it looks like we're butting heads. It looks like we're very against each other. I think that's how Coleman felt at the beginning. But for me, like with you, we're having this conversation. I actually think we're far more alike than we are different. But someone who I really, really, really disagree with, like, I'm not breaking down their video. It's a scam. You know, some other people that are just trying to sell a program. Like I did Peter Danilev at one point, and I was watching part of his, and I'm like, I can't. This is bad. This is not a real thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think for me, it's what I'm getting from the person you are. You're a purist. Like, you just want development basketball to be trained and played the right way, and you want coaches and people who are training and players who are playing to play with pure intention and not because it's for an external motive, i.e. money or views and stuff like that, which I do agree with you on, in terms of, with some of the guys out there, and when they post, is they're posting because they know that, okay, a lot of people will agree and like it and it's marketable. Hence they would, sort of portray this certain view and try to look for shortcuts, which in fact, like you said, they're very much like you and in terms of their thinking. So yeah, I mean, I really respect again what you do, and I think it's very hard to kind of, especially when you are promoting a new style of playing, to then come out and give a balanced point of view, which is what people are not really wanting to hear. Again, the CLA
Yep.
is very new, it's very popular, it's very trendy. So a lot of people want to hear, oh, CLA, this is the old style of doing things, this is the new style of doing things, this always works. And that's what people want to hear. That's what people want to engage with, whether they agree with it or not. So I think you're always going to have those, coaches videos coming out where it's like, okay, CLA is here and traditional coaching is here. Where in fact, again, everybody knows the coaches that know ball is pretty much like this, working hand in hand, human approach, which again is your philosophy. So yeah, it's I think it's a hard one for sure. It's a hard one to try, and I
Mm.
don't think everyone is on your is like you. So,
And I'm, like I said, I don't think I have it all figured out. For me, that's why. So do you know Micah Lancaster?
yeah, no, yeah.
So the issue I think I've had is, before I created my YouTube channels, I've always wanted to have these conversations. And so when I would comment on Coleman stuff, I would comment on transforming basketball stuff, I would comment on Micah Lancaster's stuff. There's a few others. I would just get nothing. You don't know what you're talking about. Basically that sort of stuff. So I made a channel. And once I started putting my ideas out, then I still wasn't getting those conversations. So I put them both in a video and brought up my issues and problems I had with it. In that time, Micah Lancaster and myself have still not had a conversation. It just can't get it to happen. I'm okay with it. But then it's like, at some point, like, you got to be willing to test your ideas too. Not because I know better, but I have some questions where I think there's some shortcomings. But then Coleman has reached out to me in the last, maybe it was a couple months ago. And like I said, we get into it, not into it, but like, I have these disagreements, and he's so used to dealing with people that are the traditional approach, or they don't want CLA to succeed. And so I think he thought that was my way of thinking too. So he approached me that way. And then the more we've had conversation, the more it's like, okay, we're actually far more similar. And for me as well, the more I've read about his book, the more that I've researched, I'm like, look, we're far more similar than we are different. And I think that's the bridge I'm trying to connect, because I don't have the answers. So like when you said I'm a purist, that is my strength and it's my weakness, because I can't impact as many people. If my goal is to positively impact people, well, I can't do that if I'm not willing to do some things that are going to get me more views. And it's not a moral standard that wins me anything. I don't get a trophy for it. I don't get a pat on the back when I go home. No one else may care, but it makes me feel good. So it's still a selfish thing. It's still selfish. It's not like I'm just a better human. No, it makes me feel better knowing I did it this way. But like I said, with you, like, you can put a camera up and film that session and then put it online. For me, I'm like, it still feels weird to me personally to do it. But I always tell other people, that's your superpower. Not everyone can do that. Do it. Lean into it. And things I've had to work on, like, again, now on my channel, I had to think about my sponsors. Do I want to do sponsors? I don't know. It feels gross. And I'm like, you know what? The sleep mask thing, that's not bad. I like it. It's not scammy. I'll do a sponsor for that. Then it's like, do I want to do sponsors for, I got a basketball goal sent to me. And I told him, I was like, if it's not good, I'm not going to do it. I felt good about that. This seat, this chair, I use every day. Like, so there's certain things where I'm slowly coming up to that line too of doing things that before 2 years ago I'd have been like, nope, not pure enough. So that's why I like having these conversations. I like having these challenges, and I like having people that ask why I do things too, because it helps me more define kind of my morals, not morals, but just like my philosophies and theories and fundamentals. It helps me more grind those down. So, like the human approach thing for me, I don't want to put it out as a theory or as a book, but more so I want that to be in people's heads to be like, hey, when you go coach, first thing, think about them as people, then everything branches off from there. Which approach do you like better, CLA or, traditional style? And almost everyone,
I think,
if they know what CLA is, they're almost always going to pick CLA.
yeah, I think with that, with you saying not, you don't want to tie it to you as a person. I think you probably have to at the end of the day. Like, even though you may not want to, but I think with anything, they're always going to find out, okay, who is talking, like who is pushing it, and they're gonna do research on you as a person. So I think when it comes down to it, if you are gonna obviously push this human approach, I think you would probably have to end up obviously attaching yourself to it, because that's just the way things work. Like, people just don't believe in things. They always find out, okay, who is he? Where does he come from? Stuff like that. Like, how does he
Yeah.
coach and stuff like that. So that's kind of like the only thing I'd say about you saying you don't want to put yourself forward as it's your own thing. I think eventually it probably will.
Yeah.
That's just the
No,
way the world works.
yeah, it's a good point, and probably something I just keep putting off and trying not to do, but then knowing I'm going to have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, nice one.
No,
No,
I agree, man.
thanks for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, you too. Like I said, thank you for having the conversation. And like I said, I've took notes and learned stuff from you too. So don't just think this was me trying to talk down on your video and then trying to tell you what you should do better. This is definitely, these conversations help me, better define my thoughts and philosophies and stuff too.
No, likewise. Again, I'm here to learn, and I've learned a lot. Continue to learn, and I think again the learning doesn't stop from here. So no, glad to have learned a lot today, and looking forward to the future for sure.
For sure, man. Well, anytime you want to have a conversation or send an email or any questions or whatever, I'm always available. Always available for that sort of stuff. So
perfect. Thank you, man. Have a good day, man.
All right, of course, man. You too.